Solskjaer has a transfer plan at Manchester United that is very, very clear, but Manchester United fans, I think that their opinions are very, very unclear at this moment in time. Very, very interesting, and it really started off last week with me with the United stand didn't start last week. It started off last week with me because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said in his press conference that he will have the final say on transfers. And then in this week's press conference, he's talking about him and Mike Phelan have sat down. They've got a strategy of the sort of players that they want to go for at Manchester United this season. He spoke about buying players that will be here for many years and not short-term players. He mentioned the signings of Rooney and Ronaldo and how they weren't the finished article, but they had the talent to be world-class players, and that's the sort of players that we're looking at. And it's interesting because we've had these discussions on the United stand as a community, and a lot of people have said, look, we're not going to win the title for years. I think everybody understands that. We've got to be patient, and the sort of players that we need to sign are the sort of players that are hungry, that want to come here to go to that next step, and they're going to wear the shirt with pride, and they're going to fight for that shirt, and they're talented. And that's the agreement. And everyone seems to be on that page. No more Galacticos. We don't want any more Galacticos. And by Galacticos, I don't think we've really bought Galacticos. I think people are right. But we've bought the Alexis Sanchez's, overpaid them on wages. We've bought the Lukaku's, overpaid them on wages, overpaid on their transfer fee. People like Matic, oh yeah, he's won a couple of Premier Leagues. We'll buy him even though he's basically in a wheelchair. He's that slow. You know, lots of players have been bought very, very badly. We haven't actually gone for many of those players. I'd say there's one or two that we've done in the last 6 years. I think Luke Shaw was one. I think Dalot is another one. I think Lindelof was one as well. He was early 20s when we signed him. Those players who were coming here as a step up to work hard for the shirt. And surprise, surprise, Lindelof and Luke Shaw were the only real candidates for Player of the Year this year. And that's because they're them sort of signings. Those players that want to come to this club to go to the next level and are hungry. And that's what we want. That's what many people do want. But then we get linked to Daniel James of Swansea, and forget Daniel James. Whether he comes to Manchester United or not, for me, is irrelevant. I think the signing is exciting. I think it's one of the most intelligent signings United have looked at in many years, because he's 21, he's a championship player, there is a lot of Premier League clubs looking at him. He wouldn't be a first teamer for me. He's a left winger, so he would be backup to the failing left wingers and maybe force his way in against people like Martial and maybe if Sanchez stays and Rashford. But he's quick. He's talented, he's well thought of, it's a step up, he's 15 million quid. Tick, 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 tick. And, you know, if people like Juan Mata are going, he would be a decent player to come in and let's see what he's all about. And of course, some transfers can fail, but 15 million is nothing. And it's the sort of player that Manchester United should be looking at. But then today, you see the social media fallout about it. He's not the sort of player should be looking at. We need big signings to get us back on track. And the flip-flopism is there. It's there for you, isn't it? The patience, which I've spoken about before. Does this fan base have the patience to realise we're not challenging Man City and Liverpool? They're miles ahead. Their infrastructure, the way they work, they're miles and miles and miles ahead of us. And we are going to have to, you know, to get there, it's not. There's no Harry Potter wand. It's not abracadabra or whatever he says. It's going to take time. You can't build this overnight. Now, fortunately, let me just read this super chat, actually. Red Baron says, calling out Leslie Lai for calling Luke Shaw fat. He can probably run faster than you, so what does that say about you? I think the Luke Shaw fatism is just ridiculous. You know, you call yourself a Manchester United fan and you're calling Luke Shaw fat. I think it's disgusting. He's your player of the year. He certainly had a very good season in a very, very bad season for Manchester United, and people are calling him fat and he wears a Manchester United shirt. I think it's disgrace. I think it's an absolute disgrace. I really do. That's my personal opinion. Lukaku's overweight. He's admitted it, but he's not fat. It's muscle. Lukaku bulked up and he's not bothered to get it off. But calling one of your players fat, I mean, come on. It's 2019. But what I want to say is that I find this quite concerning as a fan base, as a community, and I want to get some people's thoughts on this. We're also going to be talking about the director of football. I think that's two topics I really wanted to talk about tonight, because Friday night's a little bit more relaxed, isn't it? Let's have a gin. That wasn't much of a swallow. I got a lot of ice in that. Congratulations for yesterday, Mark. The hard work pays off, says Henry Ellis. I'll go and get the award in a minute for you so we can all see that. But we've won an award. We'll talk about that. Sarah says, I've got patience, but a lot of people don't. Jon Snow, I will just not read your comment. You know nothing, literally. He says Luke Shaw is fat and overrated. I've read his comment, but you know nothing, Jon Snow. You know nothing. There's no competition in this team, says JC. And I think that's why if you signed a Daniel James or you signed a Barella or someone like that, it gives competition for places. And we need that. We need that. There is no competition in this team at the moment. It's lacklustre. It's lazy. It's inept. It's not good enough. So I think that I want to sort of get some comments on this. What is your I mean, Alfie, you've said get over yourself, Mark. He is fat and out of shape. You're a disgrace, mate. You're an absolute disgrace. That's just, like, do you even watch football games? You're dragging me into a debate I don't want to get into. But do you watch football games? Because Luke Shaw is probably the fastest player in our team. He's running up and down constantly. Now, you can criticise his final ball. You can criticise him being out of position sometimes. But you cannot criticise his work rate and his speed of getting back and forth. I mean, there's a clip from last week against Huddersfield, and I'll guarantee you, if you took 99.9% of Luke Shaw's season, you'd see him bombing up and down. You clearly don't understand the mechanics of the human being as well, because you can be a bulky person and still be very, 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 very fast and very, very fit. It's body fascism, and that's what it is. And you know what? I'd tell you what, we'd all love to see a picture of you, Alfie, because I bet you know Tom Cruise in his 20s. I bet you're not. And you know what? You're just keyboard warriors. I can't stand people who go in on people because of how they look. It's a disgrace. You're a disgrace. I don't care. You are. I don't care whether you're a United fan or not. I think it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Have a grown-up debate about his attributes as a left-back, because his weight has got nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. And you tell you what, sit down. Player of the Year, voted for by the club. 3 Player of the Month awards voted by your fellow fans. So you can hate him, you can call him all the names you want, but you're sitting on a big L, so I hope you've lubed it up. Luke Shaw, Player of the Year, 2019. Anyway, sometimes to be the best you have to risk it all, says Ricardo Harolds. It's a very good statement, but I don't think it's relevant to what we're talking about tonight, with all due respect. What I want to talk about tonight is this. Where do you stand on Manchester United and the transfer strategy? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has laid it out pure and simple, like a beautiful picnic with Scotch eggs and little mini sausage rolls and maybe a few samosas, and I haven't eaten. But he has laid it out. He has said that him and Mike Phelan have spoken about the transfers. He has said we're looking at players for the longer term that are going to be here for future years. For me, and I've said this personally, and I don't know whether people agree on me, I've said that, look, Koulibaly, I'm not saying let's not sign any experience. Because if you can get Koulibaly, he's going to be 28. So that's fine. We need a leader, a dominator at centre-back. So, yeah, if we can get a Skriniar, although Skriniar's under 25, so he'd be perfect anyway, or a Varane, or a Koulibaly, or a De Ligt. De Ligt would be perfect because he's 19, as that centre-back next to Lindelof. Happy days. But the other positions that we're looking at, to me, I think, well, I know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is an inexperienced manager at Manchester United. He is inexperienced. Mulder, Cardiff, that's not experience of top clubs. Doesn't mean he can't do the job at United, but he is inexperienced. He is learning on the job. So to give him the Gareth Bales, I don't think it works. Gareth Bale's an ego, quite rightly. He's played for Real Madrid. He's won Champions Leagues. He comes over here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer tells him he's doing something wrong, and you are genuinely creating an issue straight away there with an ego player who's done it all, looking at Solskjaer and thinking, what have you done? All right, as a player you were good, but what have you done as a manager? Whereas if you go and buy players between the age of 19 and 24 who are at clubs that are maybe not as big as United, but they want to come here and develop, and people get very arrogant about this. Like, Paul Scholes came from our youth. Roy Keane came from Nottingham Forest. Eric Cantona came from Leeds. You know, if you look at, and I'm just talking about United players here that have been successful. Ronaldo came from Sporting Lisbon. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came from Norwegian football. We seem to have gone very arrogant about the way we want to sign players. Oh no, they've got to have come from a top Serie A team, or they've got to have come from Real Madrid, or, you know, they've got to be the next hot thing for playing for England. No, we haven't always done that. Dwight York, Aston Villa. Andy Cole, Newcastle. You know, there's loads of players that we've bought that are exactly what I think Ole Solskjaer is trying to do. What he wants to do is bring in players who I think are aged between 20 and 24, who are at clubs that are not as good as United on paper. They might be better than, I mean, Leicester are better than us in reality, but on paper they're nowhere near as big a club as United, and every single Leicester City player would want to come to United. So, you know, Harry Maguire is another perfect example. These sort of players that will be absolutely enthralled by coming to Manchester United, and they want to prove themselves at the top level. That's the sort of signing that United need to be going for, because that's the perfect sort of signing for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he is looking at a 2 or 3 year plan of a development of himself and bringing those sort of players in. The same mindset. You look at Paul Pogba's mindset or David De Gea's mindset. They are top of their game players who, World Cup winner in Pogba's case, wants Champions League, wants Premier League titles. The fit isn't right for Pogba. I would sell Pogba. I like Pogba, but I would sell Pogba because simply, sometimes in life, you're like magnets. You don't fit. And I mean those magnets that don't fit together. And I think Pogba and United are like that. I can't be bothered. Again, I don't like the agendas. Oh, I dislike Pogba because he's lazy. He just dances around. He just puts crap music on in the dressing room and annoys everyone. He's a show-off. I don't care about all that. Let's look at the footballer because that's the most important thing. Everything else is just agenda. If you start talking about, you know, the colour of their skin or their weight or anything like that, it's an agenda. And I don't want to do that. I want to talk about the footballer. Paul Pogba is a good footballer on his day. You can debate about whether he's been consistent for United, that's fine. But Paul Pogba the right player for Manchester United to be here on a 3-4 year plan? No, he's not, because he's going to be 30 by the time the plan comes to fruition, if it comes to fruition. For me, it's bloody obvious that you sell Pogba and you bring in players like your Bruno Fernandes maybe, or your Barella from Cagliari, or your Ndembele, or your Tielemans, someone like that. Those sort of players who are like, yeah, I want to be here for 4 or 5 years, and in 4 or 5 years I'm going to be in my prime when this team's in its prime. That's what you've got to build at United. So I'm pleased with it, but I'm a bit concerned as a fan base, and I want to get your comments on this. Lukaku to be called overweight but not sure, says Jack LUHG. Lukaku is overweight, mate, and it's not about calling him fat. Lukaku has admitted himself, and we've spoken many a time on this channel, that Lukaku is overweight because muscle mass is weight. But, like, nobody's calling... Well, some people are calling Lukaku fat, and I think it's wrong, but the reality is he's not fat. He's bulked up. We all know that. Lukaku is just bulked himself up too big. That's why he's knackered after 25 minutes, because he's carrying so much muscle. And for some reason, he told us this in November, and he's still doing it in May. I don't know why he's not been able to get rid of it, and maybe he doesn't want to get rid of it. But he's too big. He admitted it. So, you know, Lukaku is overweight, but we're not... You know, people are so literal about things. You're calling Luke Shaw a fat kebab eater. That's a lie. That's calling him a pig. That's calling him a food eater. Lukaku is overweight because he's muscled up. He's bulked up. It's muscle. You know, he's been in the gym too long. He's not been in the bloody kebab shop too long. He's been in the gym too much. He's carrying too much weight, which is muscle. Very, very two different, very, very things. But where do you stand on this? Because I don't know myself. Like I said this morning, if next season, if we spend £200 million in the summer and we spend it on these players that are, you know, let me just name a few players. So Tielemans, Daniel James, De Ligt, trying to think of another midfielder as well, and a right winger, Bergwijn from PSV, and you know, maybe an Ndidi or someone like that. So they're all around. They're all aged between 20 and 24. They're not going to come in straight away and win as a Premier League, but in 2 or 3 years they might do. So next season, there is an improvement, because there's going to be an improvement. There's going to be improvement in excitement and effort. But I still think next season we'll go to the Etihad and maybe get beat 3 or 4-0. Now, after that game, are we all going to flip-flop and go, oh, fuck yeah, we're going nowhere? Or will we go, you know what, we have improved a lot since last season. This is a journey. And I don't know. I think it's going to be a very interesting experiment. It'll be a very interesting experiment for myself, because when you're wrapped up in the initial few minutes of a football match, your opinion may not be the same as what it is a few hours afterwards. And will we be able to? And we're an experiment for football in general. So it's not just this is not a reflection on us as United fans. I mean, I said this about Arsenal the other day. The Prat in the Hat, after their draw against Brighton, oh, you're all a bunch of spineless, useless nobodies, you get out of my club. Thursday night, as I said, he's pulling them all off. Oh, you're brilliant, Bukaki. And, you know, it's like, that is ridiculously flip-flop. But that's Arsenal. But we must be careful as United fans, because we don't know. We're going to be an experiment here. To do this journey, which I think is the right journey, bringing in the younger players who are hungry and want to develop here, they're not going to win the league next year. They're probably not going to win the league next after that. So what we need to do is be patient. We need to be patient, but can we be patient? Do you want to be patient? Do you want to sign Daniel James, Tielemans, people like that this summer? Or do you actually want to sign Verratti? Do you want to actually sign, you know, Bale? Well, maybe not Bale, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, the big signings. Or do you want to build something? I think we all want to build something, but I don't know whether we've got the patience for it, because football has become very impatient, very reactionary. Especially like social media, in that it's instantly on you. If you imagine next season we're away to Burnley and we're a little bit inexperienced because we're quite a young team growing together, and they school us with their long ball football, and we draw or we lose 2-1. Everyone's going to be there, look at you, you're back in 6th. That frustration and banter can then make you react on your own players. It's going to be very interesting. I've got a lot of faith in the United fan base, but it's going to be very interesting, and I hope that we can cling on to some positivity. Jonah Jones says, just want to say well done on your award, well deserved, and lovely to see Soph there too. Feel the United stand is a real team and glad to play a minor part as a fan, says Jonah. Thanks for the contribution, mate. And you know what, I will get the award in a bit because it is all of yours. It genuinely is. I've always said this. People always say, oh, you're a cliche, Mark. You say this channel's the fans channel, and all the awards you get is because of the fans. But the thing is, I remember when we first started with 10 people watching, and we always said that, and we always will. Which reminds me, talking of a team, United Stand FC first competitive game will be going up on the channel tomorrow. With the trials are up there, the first trials match, the kit launch, the video's up there on its own playlist, but tomorrow's the first competitive game. It will go up on the channel. I would swap Martial with Son and Dybala in and Mata out, says Alex E. Well, at least Alex is nailing his flag to the mast. I mean, Dybala and Son are players who are over 25, and they're more of the same sort of big signing, aren't they? They're going to cost a lot of money. I don't. My head tells me that's the wrong thing to do, but I don't know what my heart's going to do next season. I don't know whether it's going to flip-flop and go, look at this, it's embarrassing. But I do know whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be successful or not. I do know that his transfer plan is the right one. As I say, I think Daniel James is quite a significant signing, not because we're going to make it, but because it's really opened everyone's eyes that, oh my God, we're going for a 21-year-old who's at Swansea, who's really highly thought of. He's not the finished article. He'd come here and probably have to take a couple of years to adjust and be the player he's going to be. We're not going to win the title for 2 years. But that's why it's so significant to be linked to a player like that, because it's the reality bite. We're not winning the title next year. We're not. And we're probably not winning it the year after. In fact, I would probably say we're not. So it's definitely the right strategy to build a team. And also, you know what? We've bought a lot of players over the last 4 or 5 years from European clubs who are like and British clubs who are 15, 16. Where are they? They've got to start coming through as well, because they were really good, well thought of players. There's a lad we got from PSG, midfielder. I think he's got the potential to be absolutely amazing. I think he's 17, 18. Aloha Traore. You probably haven't heard much of him. I probably even pronounced his name wrong. But he's a player. He's a player who can be a player for Manchester United. Mason Greenwood. There are players coming through. And then if you add players, we can build something here. But we're just going to have to be patient. And it's the $1 million question. I don't know how I'm going to be next year. Like, are we going to have that patience to be able to ignore what Liverpool and City are doing? Liverpool might not win the league this year, but they could win it next year. And we're going to be trying to build our thing whilst we're watching our big rivals do everything. It's going to be very hard. Very hard. And we've got a chance to get our club back. We've got our chance to be the best fans in the country again. None of this Arsenal flip-flop crap. We can be patient. We can build. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be very, very hard. And also, we're also assuming that we make the right signings, and 2, Ollie actually is the right manager. It's all very easy saying, let's build a team, let's watch it develop, but you've got to buy the right players, and also you've got to have the right manager that's going to actually build it. If he's going to be picking Ashley Young at right back and Phil Jones at centre back, doesn't matter what good signings you do, we're screwed. Score a Screamer says, I think they're saying all this in the press to give fans hope and will mess it up again. Thanks for the contribution. Brandon B, I think Ollie and Mike are trying to bring the Manchester United mindset back into reality. Daniel James is the right buy. He is a good investment. We all have to be patient. This is going to be a long journey. Congrats, March. Thanks for that contribution, Brandon B. I think it's a very good comment. And Michael Van Gerwen says, if you can't be patient and wait a year or 2, you are part of the problem. Good things take time. Buying ready-made has not worked time and time again. And I think that's a very good comment from Michael as well. But what I would say is, maybe we are part of the problem, but it's not United fans. This is football in general. Football is very reactionary at all clubs. It is. I can remember over the last 3 years, I've seen Liverpool fans saying, I don't think Klopp's the right man. And they've been patient, and they've got there. But some Liverpool fans have been impatient, and that's what it is. I mean, you look at Arsenal this year. I said if Emery gets Champions League football for Arsenal, he probably should get Player of the Year. Then Messi's taken over. But how many times have Arsenal fans gone in on him this season? And it's his first year. Same with Sarri at Chelsea. It's his first year. Football fans are so impatient, and if we next season are moaning, we're only the same as everybody else. So we can't, you can't be critical. But I hope we can be something else. I hope we can be patient. I hope we can get that tunnel vision and think, yeah, look, we are building something here, but we've got to see that it's the right thing. You can't have Ashley Young at right back. You can't be playing Phil Jones at right back, centre back. You can't be picking different formations every week. He's got to go back to that 4-3-3. He's got to kick the crap out, and he's got to get some good, talented players in that are going to excite us. He knows it. It's just whether he can do it, and I think that's really important. Ziyech from Ajax would be a good signing. Brandon Carter, I agree. Make sure you smash on the like on the video, everybody. Stop giving stick to Pogba. We will not be better if he leaves, says Brandon. I'm not being giving stick. I actually like Paul Pogba, Brandon. I just don't think... I think we've spent the last 10 minutes talking about how we need to be patient, how this team's not going to win a title for 3 years. Paul Pogba will be 29 in 3 years' time. I don't think this is the right project for Paul Pogba. I like Paul Pogba, and I think Paul Pogba's been part of the project of the last 3 years. When we were in the Europa League 3 years ago, that was a project then under Mourinho, and it failed, and the bubble burst, and we're back where we were. In fact, we're back in a different situation. Now Ollie is starting a new project, but for Pogba, he's like, I've already done a project. I don't know whether I want to do another project. I actually would like to just go and play for a very good team. I don't need to be part of this project. I think that's what Pogba might do. And from United's point of view, if we've only got 150 million to spend this summer, if you sell Pogba for over 100 million, you've got 250 million. So that's the thing. If Pogba goes and you replace... Look, bottom line, if Pogba goes and you bring Tielemans and Bruno Fernandes in, we've got two very good players who are hungry, and Pogba gets what he wants. So I would do that. And maybe we will be worse off, but I think what the journey we're going on at United, or where I think we're going, I don't necessarily think Pogba should be part of it. I think, with all best wishes, off you go, Paul, and we'll go this way. I think we need to move away from and maybe this, maybe the same with De Gea, but it's different with a goalkeeper, because a goalkeeper, are they part of the problem? No, a goalkeeper is part of the saves and the distribution, which needs to improve. But Pogba is fundamental to what we need to change, I think. I think we need a centre-back, Young, De Ligt, Young full-backs, two midfielders, and Sancho says Medina Turk. I mean, Jadon Sancho would be a very, very good signing. Let's talk about the footballer, the director of football. I want to say something here, and I've been thinking about this for a while. So Darren Fletcher's been linked to it. Rio Ferdinand's been linked to it. And it sounds to me like United are going to appoint a director of football or a sporting director who has been at this club before. I disagree with this, and I know some of you don't. I disagree with this because I want somebody at this club in the director of football position who is the best at what they do. And Darren Fletcher and Rio Ferdinand are not the best at what they do when it comes to being a director of football. They're inexperienced, they're unqualified. It's a massive risk at a time where we need... it's like putting a blindfold on to throw your darts at the dartboard. It might hit a treble 20. It might hit the bullseye. It might do, and it might work. Hopefully it will. But if you employ the best darts player and you take the blindfold off, they will hit the treble 20s. And I feel that's what United need to do when it comes to director of football. Don't put the blindfold on and get Darren Fletcher or Rio Ferdinand and hope they hit the bullseye. Take the blindfold off and employ a Paul Mitchell from Leipzig or someone like that. Of course, what we do need to bear in mind is United over the last 6 years, recruitment has been a disaster, wages handed out have been a disaster, and fees handed out have been a disaster. It's been a disaster for 6 years in relation to recruitment. The issue that we don't want to talk about, but we should probably talk about, is maybe United have approached these directors of football and they've said, nah, the way you do things, are you going to let me do it or are you going to have the final say? I'll still have the final say, Ed Woodward or whoever. No, I'm not interested then because this is my reputation. You let me do it my way or I'm not doing it. Well, no, that's not what we want. Well, I don't want the job then. And that may be what has happened over the last 6 months. In fact, I fear that has what has happened. I don't think many good director of footballs actually want the job. So what do United do? We can't get who we want for the job because they want to be in control and we want to keep control like we have over the last 6 years. Oh, let's get an old boy in that we know we can manipulate, but the fans will be like, "Yay, we've got Rio, we've got Darren," and they become the fall guy. And I think that's what's happening. For me, if I had to choose between Darren Fletcher and Rio Ferdinand, I'd go for Rio Ferdinand because he's the more charismatic. He's the more charismatic character. He's the better footballer, and I think he'd be a better attractor of players than Darren Fletcher because of those things. But I don't want that sort of player. I've got to be honest. Aiden Lefevre says, since Ajax is a team that sells, would you rather have Onamar or Ablak if De Gea goes leave this summer? He's young and full of potential, cheaper too. I'd go with the younger one, Aiden Lefevre. I would. I mean, Donnarumma's had a mixed season at AC Milan, but I would go for that. You know, ultimately, are we winning the title next year? No. Are we winning the title after that? No. So, do we need a goalkeeper that's at the very top of their game for the next 2 years? It helps, but if it's going to be growth, let's grow together. So I would go for the younger goalkeeper because, again, Oblak is one of the best goalkeepers in the world now. And while we're building, is he wasting 2 years? So I would go for the younger one, personally. Carl Hagan says, I'd get Gary Neville out of any United ex. But, you know, Gary Neville has come out and said that he doesn't agree with this either. That it should be the best person for the job. It doesn't need to be an ex-player because they're not qualified. So, I mean, the big thing for me is that there seems to be this obsession with old boys. Oh, let's get the old boys back. And let's do it the Sir Alex Ferguson way. Can you tell me how many appearances Sir Alex Ferguson made for Manchester United as a player? Can you tell me how many games Sir Alex Ferguson was assistant manager before he took over as manager? Can you tell me Sir Alex Ferguson's coaching history at Manchester United before he became manager? There isn't one. He's got no affiliation with Manchester United. He was from Aberdeen. He was Aberdeen's manager and his footballing background was in Scotland. He had no correlation with Manchester United and he built a legacy. And now we're obsessed with old boys, doing it the Sir Alex Ferguson way. But the Sir Alex Ferguson way wasn't the recruitment of old boys. It was somebody from the outside. Ron Atkinson was sacked and we employed a manager who was at the top of his game in Scotland, who'd broken the Glasgow Celtic and Glasgow Rangers domination with Aberdeen. And we employed somebody who came in and, you know, rebuilt the club from top to bottom over the next few decades and made us a fantastic club. And we're so obsessed with it, we're like, let's get people back who were involved with that. And we're not looking at how that all started. It was Sir Alex Ferguson's vision. Of course, he was in tune with what United's history was. He knew about the way we were meant to play football. He was ingrained in how Sir Matt Busby had done it. But again, Sir Matt Busby played for Man City. You can go back further than that. It's this, you know, and actually, if Mourinho wasn't such a boring, egotistical parker of the bus who'd, you know, actually is finished at the top level, if Mourinho had worked and been here for 10 years, he would have built something himself because he's not an ex-Manchester United player and he would have built a new dynasty. And that's what dynasties are. When you start harking back to old ones, I think it becomes dangerous. And for some reason, we're obsessed with doing it. And the only thing that resonates with me is cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap to get ex-players in. They want to be here and they're cheap. And we can manipulate them because they've got no experience. And that's what worries me about it. I think Darren Fletcher, Rio Ferdinand, whoever, as a sporting director or a director of football, I think it's wrong. So what you're saying is United should employ me, says Michael Van Gerwen. If you're good enough for the job. 7 years of excuses and it's still crap. Terrar Woodward, says Javed. Get the best, not the difficult, says Samuel R. Exactly. For me, it's very simple. It's get the best or throw your darts with a blindfold on and hope. And why are we doing that? We're Manchester United. We've got all these resources. We're the biggest club. Ollie was talking about it today. We've got the best. Well, we haven't got the best. As I said, I was at the Etihad yesterday. Across the road, they've got this bloody mini stadium where they train. And literally across the road from the Etihad. And everything's brand new and everything is flawless. And Old Trafford is the most, you know, it grabs you. If you've never been, Old Trafford is just immense because it's our football ground. But it's old. It's old. And it represents Manchester United. It represents the past when we were very successful. But the future, things need to change with Old Trafford, else it will crumble. And things need to change with our football team. Otherwise, it's going to crumble. That stadium is not going to last the next 20 years. Something's got to be done with it. And that team is not going to be able to repeat the last 20 years. something's got to be done with it. It's renovation, it's structure, it's a philosophy. Josh Wearing says, everyone talks about Sir Alex, yet he is the one person who has been preaching patience. He had time and look what he accomplished. Ollie needs the same. I think you're right, Josh. I think you're spot on. Patience is very important. And I think we've discussed this with Moyes, we've discussed it with Van Gaal, and we've discussed it with Mourinho. And a lot of you lot, when we were saying Mourinho out or Van Gaal out, you were like, no, we've got to be patient, look at Sir Alex. And I was like, they're very different. I remember Sir Alex. I remember the first few years when it wasn't going well. And I remember what he was doing. And I don't think he was ever going to be sacked. I know there was that talk he was going to be sacked after the Forest game if he didn't win it in the FA Cup third round. But I don't think he was. And I think Martin Edwards, who was the chairman at the time, said he wasn't because they were building something because they could see they were building it. With Moyes and Van Gaal and Mourinho, you knew quite quickly they weren't going to build something and they needed to be sacked. But some people are like, no, you've got to be patient. What we need to see, and hopefully we're going to see it with Ollie, is yes, it is going to take 2 or 3 years. But instead of like what we saw with Moyes and Mourinho, Van Gaal, where you know after a certain period of time this ain't going to work. Patience, whatever, it ain't going to work. They're the wrong person and they were quite rightly sacked. What I want to see with Ollie after 18 months is, all right, we're maybe nowhere near a title, but you can see the improvement. You can see where we're going. You can see the players that he's bringing in. Because, of course, most important of all when you mention patience is we're all obsessed by this summer transfer window. And I think it is important because it can't be wasted and you've got to do it right. And we'll know if he's done it right in August because of who he's bought and who he's kept. So he's got to do it right, but it can't all be done in this summer anyway. We can't get rid of everyone he needs to get rid of, and we can't bring in everyone we need. Because it's impossible to do that, because you're talking about over 10 players out and probably 7 or 8 players in. We won't be able to do that in one transfer window. So patience is absolutely essential anyway, because you're probably going to have to wait for part 2 next summer. So patience is very important, but the most important thing is that we do see the patience path. If we start the season next year and you're getting beat by West Ham 3-0 at their place, and then you're drawing at home to Burnley, and then you're getting smashed by Chelsea and Arsenal, well, patience is fine, but that's not right, you know. But everyone's going to have that's the wonder about, that's the brilliance of the United stand, that's the brilliance of football fans in general. Everyone's got their own personal level. For me, I will be patient, but if we're playing crap next season, getting crap results, I'll probably start to think Ollie's not the right man, because that's the evidence. You know, the end to this season's crap, the start to next season's crap. You've got to see the improvement to allow the patience, is what I'm saying. But the director of football should be the best that we can get. Definitely, absolutely, definitely. Just to give you a little bit of transfer news, actually, I read something today that Joe Felix, who's a player that we've been linked to with Benfica, there's talk of him signing a new contract, so that's looking unlikely. Dean Henderson would be interesting if Ash Stringer, if David De Gea left. I think it would be interesting to bring him back because he's a very good goalkeeper. And if you want to go for a younger goalkeeper, I mean, what I would hate to see if De Gea left is Romero in goal. I think that's a step back. He's not going to be around for a long time because I think he's into his 30s. I don't personally think he's a great Premier League goalkeeper. I think he's a cup goalkeeper. And I would rather that... I mean, this is speculative what I'm about to say, but one of my biggest concerns with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is his obsession with the old boys. He's got to turn the page. You know, Ashley Young, I know he loves Ashley Young, and that's fine. That's his personal choice. But Ashley Young is very symbolic, and Phil Jones is very symbolic, and Nemanja Matic is very symbolic next season of how patient we're going to be and how trusting we're going to be of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If we start next season and we see plenty of Young and Jones and Matic, I don't care who we sign, we're going to struggle, and I'm going to be very, very worried about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as United manager. He's got to remove those players. They need to be... I wouldn't even have them on the bench. I think they need to be removed from the philosophy and removed from the vision. You can't have a halfway house with what we're about to do. You've got to commit to the plan. And if the plan is to bring in a certain type of player and play a certain way and build something over the next few years, then you do it. But you can't say, I'm going to bring in certain players, I'm going to build a team for the future, we're going to need patience, but I'm still going to play 34-year-old Ashley Young and Phil Jones at centre-back. That's hypocritical. That's not the plan, because you're not committing to your plan. You're half committing to your plan and you're half keeping the old boys in. And you know, if you're going to pick the old boys, do it and get the sack. If you're going to do it the right way, kick them out and build And then you will get the patience from the fans. How would we measure improvement next season, says Dennis G 2000. I think next season, I was asked last night at the awards, like, where do you think United are going to finish next season? And straight-faced, 5th. Yeah, I think 5th is probably about right next season for United, because Liverpool and Man City have got 2 of those top 4 spots nailed down. I think Spurs will be a better team next year if Pochettino stays. I think Chelsea and Arsenal and us will be going for 4th place. And, you know, you pick the one in the middle. So I think 5th is realistic, and 4th would be good. I wouldn't call 4th place an achievement, because United should be finishing in the top 4. I think 5th is realistic. I think 4th would be good. I think anything above that would be very good. So that's what I'm expecting next season. Doesn't mean I'm going to enjoy it. Doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and go, yeah, we're 5th. That's acceptable. I don't think it is. But then again, so much depends on what we do this summer. I just said it a minute ago. If he's still picking Jones and Young, I'm going to be very pissed off about finishing 5th, because I'm going to be like, commit to the plan. Play Delo at right back. Bring in a centre back. You know, I do mind finishing 5th, but if we finish 5th with a team that doesn't have Young, Jones and Matic in it, and we're building, I hope I can deal with that. But we can't halfway house it. I don't know about football, but can we get rid of Woodwork, or is he the main manager, says Kane Harris. I think Ed Woodward would never be sacked by Manchester United. No, I don't think he would. Aesthetic Bra says, I think we'll be 6th next year again. Who should be our captain for next season, says Zane Jordan. I mean, there's so much this season, isn't there? There's so much going to go on this summer. The signings, the outgoings. It's so busy. And I personally do think it's very important who the captain of Manchester United is going to be next season. I would go with... I would go with... We're never going to buy somebody to be captain, so that's not going to happen. Ander Herrera's going to leave. I always thought he was a good captain material. Pogba, if he stays, could be captain. But as I said, I think Pogba and United should part ways amicably, because I don't think he can be part of this journey if we do it properly. So if Pogba stays, it could be Pogba, whether that's right or wrong. It could be Lindelof, but I just have a feeling it won't be. I actually think it will still be Ashley Young. I don't think Ashley Young will be stripped of the club captaincy. I still think he'll be captain next year. I do. I'm going to say that right now. I think Ashley Young will be United's captain next season. I don't agree with that. It's not building for the future. But I think that they will, because they like Young so much, they won't want to strip him of the captaincy. I'd strip him of his old kit, and not in a sexual way. I'd strip him of his old kit and have him in his pants and say, if you haven't brought your tracksuit, you're not having a United one, get your normal clothes on and get in your car and just keep driving. I'll give you the petrol money and don't come back. But Ashley Young's a nice bloke. I mean, you listen to his interviews, it's just not good enough. And we can all joke about, you know, we've all got players that we don't like, but, you know, in the cold light of day, they're all human beings, and they're probably nice people. But in seriousness, we're all sat here talking because we love Manchester United. It's not necessarily about the players, and we want players that are good. And the point is, I'm sorry, Ashley, you're not good enough. And you've proven that. You're not good enough. And you shouldn't be anywhere near this team. And also, you're 34. So why would I invest in thinking, oh, you might be a better player next year? Because it's pointless. You're too old anyway. So you're actually old. Go. Same with Phil Jones. I'm bored of your cycle. Whether you get playing good or not, you get injured, you come back, you play well for a few games, you make a mistake, you get injured, and that's the cycle of Jones, and I'm bored of it. So go. So who is the main manager? Says Kane Harris. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the manager of Manchester United, Kane. Ed Woodward is the chief executive, and God knows what goes on in between. This is why we want a director of football. Get Grealish in, says Tony Pearson. Again, you know, if you're talking about Daniel James, why wouldn't you talk about Grealish? Patience is absolutely essential when we sign these players, though. Don't expect them to come in and hit the ground running. Exactly. McTominay for captain, says Timo Collar. Well, apparently we're going to build a team around him, aren't we? Give me 1 minute. I'm just going to do something for you. Have a little patience, yeah. 'Cause the sky runs so deep, I'm so hard, but I have to believe. You can't really see it, you know, because it's made of glass. But look at it, it's virtually unseeable. It's the Best Influencer Award at the Football Blogging Awards, which I was at last night. That's yours. Touch it. Touch my glass. Touch my award. Touch my award. No. Thanks to everybody who voted, because I know a lot of you people, we did ask for votes on the United stand as well, so I know a lot of you voted. And although you can't touch my award because it's, you're just going to touch a screen, it doesn't happen without you lot. It doesn't happen. Every single vote helps. Every person who watches this channel is part of the United stand community, and we've built something absolutely amazing. So that is for you, although I will keep it, of course. But it is. Winning a fans award, it's not a judge's award. It's not subjective. It's based on people voting for what it is. And if you voted or you're part of the community, then you share that award with us. So thank you very much for that. Welcome to Naeem Hussain, who is the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. I forgot about the Members Club, actually. If you join the Members Club, you get your little badge next to your name. You get access to the community homepage where we put up members polls and stuff like that. There is other stuff for everybody, but there is member stuff there as well. And also you get access to the emojis, which we'll be using on the Cardiff game at the weekend. But remember, tomorrow got the United Stand FC video going up. It's a cracker. It's a cracker. There's some drama in it, and there's definitely some goals. So join us for that. And obviously, if there's any breaking news over the weekend, we'll go live. I'll be live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night as well. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks everyone for watching. I really enjoy Friday night because we tend to pick a couple of big debate points out and we have a chat and it's relaxed and I like it, whereas I think every other show it's a bit more fast paced and there's more topics, but I like the Friday night chill show, I like to call it. It probably should be called something better. But thanks everyone for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new and get your notifications on if you are subscribed, because the United Stand FC video will be landing tomorrow and you'll literally kick yourself if you don't watch it and you see it a few hours later. You'll be like, I wish I was one of the first to see it. It's very good. See you soon. Thanks for watching. Oh, sorry, Andrew Smith says, how do I become a member? There should be a join button, or you can go through the link in the video description where you'll see about membership. And also, if a lot of people ask, where can we get the United Stand merch from? So we've got hoodies, tracksuits, United Stand FC tops. The link should be in the video description for it. Just have a look, but it should be in there. But the join thing for the members is as well. So thanks for watching, everyone. Speak to you soon.